Reishi, the most storied and studied functional mushroom of all time. Depictions of this mushroom date back in Chinese and Japanese artwork 2,400 years, and has been said to have been used in medicine for over 4,000 years. Emperor Yan, author of the Bible of Medicinal Plants, wrote, "If eaten customarily, it makes your body light and young, and lengthens your life, and turns you into one like the immortal who never dies, and has such been dubbed
the mushroom of immortality."
Who would want that? Everyone, apparently. In 2022, the global market share of functional mushrooms was valued at 15.3 billion, and is expected to hit the 23.3 billion mark by 2030. One of the main goals of this episode is to help you choose the right functional mushroom supplement within this exploding market. Specifically looking at reishi. Reishi is at the forefront of this mushroom surge. In vivo and in vitro studies have proven that this functional mushroom can benefit your heart, regulate cholesterol, blood pressure, and blood sugar levels. It can inhibit tumors and viral load. It protects the liver and actually can reverse a mild fatty liver. It can activate your immune system when you need it, and in the case of autoimmune reactions, cool it down. My favorite is it can be used to combat depression and help regulate anxiety throughout your day, or help you relax at the end of one. In a country where depression affects 1 in 6 of us, this is worth taking note. I take it as part of my sleep routine. 30 to 40 minutes before bed, when it hits me, it reminds me of going to the dentist.
Take a look at that mouth.
Not that dentist. You know when they used to give you the nitrous and your body would turn into a floating, carefree, feathery, light mess of goo? Triterpenes are the most representative group of phytochemicals, as over 30,000 of such compounds are recognized to exist. Reishi contains 100 triterpenes, and these are responsible for its sedative effect. It also contains beta-glucans, which are responsible for many of its immune benefits, and what I'm focusing on today. With this history, loads of research to back it up, there's no reason for you to question reishi. But you might want to question the reishi in the capsule, in the bottle, in the store, or more likely on Amazon. In 2017, Nature magazine, the world's most cited scientific journal, published an analytical study about reishi mushroom supplements. 19 different products were sold in the USA, were tested for the compounds that characterize reishi mushroom on a DNA level, and found only 5 were found to be said mushroom. Holy crap. That means 75% were something else. So what's a fungi-loving frugal health nut to do? I'm guessing not look for the best deal online and cross your fingers, because you might get something else. When selecting any mushroom supplement, there's a lot to take into account. Now I'm going to have to split this into multiple videos because there is just so much information and so much debate, I'd have to talk like Anna Kendrick in rocket science.
Subsidies are at their heart an extension of socialism. That's from Gutierrez 03, that the negative team has no legitimate arguments against socialism isn't our fault.
Didn't see it? Do yourself a favor and get on that. It's one of my favorites of all time. Currently, there are no standards established to test and share medicinal content of supplements with the consumer. So it's up to us to do our homework and make a judgment call. First, let's look at the country of origin. There is nothing to say a quality supplement can't come out of a foreign country. But the more removed a distributor is from the chain of custody, the less opportunity they have to be constantly testing and managing quality control. You have to look close, because a lot of these companies will put an American flag on the back of the bottle. But in really tiny print, it'll say things like, formulated in the USA, or made in the USA with global ingredients. Okay. That doesn't sound like it's made in America. Also, did you know that a product does not have to be grown in the United States to be certified by the California Certified Organic Farmers? So just because it's certified organic from an agency in the United States does not mean it's grown in the United States. Another thing to look out for is the word powder versus extract. A powder is simply taking the mushroom, grinding it up, and putting it in a capsule. But the beneficial compounds in mushrooms are either water soluble or alcohol soluble. So unless it's a mushroom extract, you may as well just be eating sawdust. So I started by selecting 4 brands that seemed reputable and were clearly labeled extracts. I also assumed, based on their marketing and other things, that they were based in North America. But to be sure, I contacted each company asking for their country of origin and if they could provide me any other further information about the content of their supplement. First, Whole Foods 365. I started with their online chat customer service rep who had 0 information and told me to go to the store I bought it at and ask customer service. Which I did, They took my name and said they would email HQ and get back to me in about 2 weeks. It's been at least 6 months. There's also Paul Stamets, either mycology god or snake oil salesman, depending on who you ask, bringing in Host Defense, proudly made in the United States. I also received a response with more information that boiled down to all beta-glucans are created equal and current testing methods, megazyme testing, is not a reliable benchmark of efficacy. Then FreshCap, repped by the French-Canadian couple Tony and Tegan. Love the marketing. So fresh. At first glance, I'd assume they were sourced from Canada. They are oh so wholesome and cute. They were actually very forthcoming when I asked, and they told me all of their products were sourced from South China and Russia. Then the very assuming Aloha Medicinals, based obviously in Nevada. Now, I chose them because they clearly stated that they are grown in the USA, and to be fair, their operation was founded in 1999 in Maui by a group of scientists and healthcare professionals. Since my initial contact with them, I've had regular correspondence with them and have been invited to talk with one of their mycologists, which at the filming of this hasn't occurred yet, but I'll be following up on that in another episode. But let's cut to the core of the mushroom supplement debate. It is between brands that use 100% myceliated grain and 100% fruiting body mushrooms. Most people, when you say mushroom, see this, which is the fruiting body, but it only makes up a fraction of the entire organism. Think of a mushroom or fruiting body like an apple. It's the fruit of the organism and a mechanism for reproduction. The mycelium is the tree, its branches, leaves, roots, all working to collect nutrition and energy to produce the fruiting body. And when you cultivate mushrooms, the grain acts as the primary nutritional food source. That's this part. As the mycelium grows, it consumes the grain and becomes a mass, much like tempeh. The problem becomes, when you harvest the mycelium, you cannot separate it from the grain. So the end product is always going to contain the medium on which it grows, in varying amounts of starch. If the mycelium is not an aggressive strain, you end up with a lot of starch. Enter the confusing part. Starch is an alpha-glucan, which is a storage carbohydrate. But it's the beta-glucan that is beneficial to our immune system and is a soluble fiber like that goo from oatmeal. But both starch and the beta-glucan are polysaccharides. So some companies will boast high polysaccharide levels, but that isn't helpful. While we can't test for beta-glucans, we can test easily for starch, which is what we're going to get into in just a minute. Now, Paul Stamets has been leading the charge on mycelium-based supplements since the 1990s. His company, Host Defense, goes on for 3,400 words to this effect on his website. He says that there are unique constituents that are produced by this growing process that have health benefits. His Reishi mushroom supplement is 100% Reishi mushroom mycelium grown on brown rice, and the only data that they share on the bottle is that it contains 550 milligrams of, you guessed it, polysaccharides. FreshCap devoted a section of their website, 1,000 words, slamming myceliated grain for not being truly a mushroom, and suggesting that it comes down to it just being cheaper to make. Based on labor costs, I'm sure that's true to some degree. But it's up to you where you want your supplements to come from. FreshCap only uses the fruiting body and its spores. The spores are run through a mill to crack them and make them more bioavailable. They do say in those 1,000 words that mycelium extracts do have health benefits after all. I don't know, so what was all the fuss about? FreshCap does say on their bottle that each serving contains 27% beta-glucans and 1.4% triterpenes. The whole 365 bottle says they use both the fruiting body and the mycelium. No additional data is available, and Jeff Bezos probably doesn't have an opinion on the matter anyway. Then, there is Aloha Medicinals, grown organically on sorghum in the US. And not only do they use the fruiting body, which is this, they also use the myceliated substrate, which is this. They also use the primordia, which is the fruiting body at its earliest stage of development. It also includes extracellular compounds. These compounds are your enzymes, polysaccharides, and protective secondary metabolites that are outside of the organism. That's also as far as they go on their bottle. There's no additional data available at this time. So all of these supplements have some level of starch, although FreshCap most likely only has trace amounts from the mushroom itself. Christopher Hobbs talks about using iodine in his book, Medicinal Mushrooms, The Essential Guide, to test for starch. Iodine in the presence of starch turns blue. So here I took pure cornstarch as a control and added iodine. You can clearly see how intensely blue it turns. If there are low levels of starch, the iodine will turn blue, but settle up quickly. I took 1 capsule of each, emptied the contents into 50 milliliters of distilled water, gave it a shake, and added 3 drops of iodine. Shook again. The process took about 20 minutes. Then I gave them all another 30 minutes to settle out. As I suspected, fresh cap has no real evidence of starch. Host defense, after having all this time to settle out, still remains very blue. It's obvious from this test that a good percentage of the host defense polysaccharide content is in fact starch. Aloha medicinals settled out extremely fast, which indicates to me there is very little starch. So on a purely anecdotal level, I want to tell you my experience. I want to save it to the end because I'm not a doctor. I can't tell you what to do, but I can just tell you about my experience. So I've tried all 4 of these supplements, and I started with Fresh Cap. The marketing worked on me. I was totally hooked, and it was the first time I had that experience of taking these, and it just felt like I was falling through the heavens. It was like when it hit my bloodstream, I was like just falling through a cloud, and I wanted to repeat that sensation. Who wouldn't? It was very relaxing, and but the problem was the price on this was going up, and I wrote the company and they said that they didn't expect the price to come down. If anything, it was going to keep on going higher, and I think currently today it's almost $40 a bottle. So then I went to Host Defense because I heard about Paul Stamets. I've seen all of his products. I watched Fantastic Fungi, and I had not the same experience. I felt nothing at all. There was no sense of relaxation. But the price was right. I think it was about $19 when I bought it. So then I moved on to Aloha Medicinals. I had no prior knowledge of them, and they're about $24 a bottle. I absolutely had the same experience as the Fresh Cap. It was maybe even more so, and so I was really happy with that. But then I had difficulty finding it. So then I was at Whole Foods, and I was like, hey, I'll just try this product. And once again, nothing. So if I was your friend or your coworker, but not your doctor, as a friend, the clear winner for me was Aloha Medicinals because it has an attractive price point, it's organic, made in the US, and quite frankly, the way it makes me feel. Now remember one thing, while foraging is free, healthcare is not.